Hey there.
Hey Benjamin, how are you?
Good. How are you? What
Doing
is
good.
your name?
I'm Keith.
Keith? Is
Yes,
that nice to meet you, Keith?
nice meeting you, Benjamin. How are you today?
Good. I'm sorry for having to do the little switcheroo with Jamie, but he's having to get to the city to celebrate his birthday
Oh yeah, and
after a big year. So I'm kind of picking up where he left off. So appreciate you being flexible there.
oh no worries at all, Ben. So how was your day so far?
Good. It's been kind of cool. It's kind of been the first day that we've started to see some little interviews here or there, or reviews of the record here or there trickling in. And after kind of being away for as long as we were, and just sort of having our own, like just sitting on the music and being like, is this good enough? Is this exactly where we wanted it to be? It feels good to have to be able to share it with people and hear what they think of it. Especially the last time we released something in full was 2015, so it's a little surreal almost to be at this point.
Also, and then your sophomore album, Let the Truth Speak, is to be out on November 17th. So would you like to tell me a bit about the songwriting process and the production that goes behind this new album?
Wow, yeah, that's a big answer. So the songwriting was it tends to be a little different for each song. We basically will write together and practice. A lot of I guess it was about half and half. The first record, many of the instrumental songs there, like The Closest I've Come, Skyline, uh, A Dream in Static, the song was supposed to maybe be instrumental in the beginning, and then it ended up not being. And the Ungrounding, like those were rehearsal songs, but then the rest of the album, like the Mob Mentalities, the Contemplation of the Beautiful, Crater, those are individual songs. So we'll have our own ideas. I'll have things that I get stuck in my head and I hum into my phone and hope I know what I was talking about, or like hope that I represented the idea well. So when I listen to it the next day, I'm not like, what, this is garbage. But yeah, I'll do that. Jamie and Frank will make their own demos. So it ends up being a mix. The songs that I don't get to write with them can sometimes have really like almost impossible drumming in them that I have to figure out how to play as a human being. And I guess that goes for things that me being the drummer will write for them that aren't so easy. Um, but yeah, it's a mixed process, and that applied exactly to the new record as well. Um, Having sometimes two people in a band who are like big creative forces can obviously make things take longer. You have more people you have to satisfy rather than if it's just Mikael Okerfeld or Steven Wilson. It's like, nope, I say this is how it goes. But in this band, we have no fewer than three people like that. So we all have a ton of respect for each other, and I think we each bring a really important perspective to things and a different way of hearing it, a different thing that we focus on, whether it's rhythm or the timbre of an instrument or the melodic or the orchestral. But yeah, when you have three people now, at the very least, that you have to make happy on things or have sign off, it's challenging, especially when you're trying to do a very ambitious record and you're kind of thinking you might self-produce it for the first time, which was not a good idea. Um, yeah, so it was a lot of work, writing and recording, and then kind of having to find people to help us get things just right after we realized how much of a task we set ourselves up for. Um, but the writing is probably the most fun part. We love the writing. We consider ourselves first and foremost a compositional band above anything else. I love playing live. We love playing live, but um, ultimately, like writing the music is the coolest part for us, and having the idea and bringing it to completion. Um, so maybe that's part of the answer.
Fantastic.
um, yep. Uh,
Fantastic.
Was there a further point there that you wanted me to go into, or
Like the production behind this
okay? Yep. Okay. So on the production end, yeah. So I think I started to mention, we on the first record, we felt we got close to what we wanted to do. We had sort of an idea of the kind of sound and the songs and how we wanted them to come across. And we worked with some great people on that. David Castillo in Sweden, Jens Bogren over there, who both did really, really great work. But kind of being a newer band, there were a lot of things that even if they did their jobs perfectly, we individually might not have known, oh, that's how I wanted it. Like, oh, so he approaches drums sounding this way, and that's perfectly fine. But for me personally, I want my drums to sound more like that. We want the snare hits to sound like they're randomly in the Grand Canyon. Like everything is just like, and he's like, that's dumb. Don't do that. And we're like, we want it to be dumb. We want the snare to be insane. So going into this record, we had it in mind that we would, because Jamie and Frank both having a good sense of how to go about production. They did a lot of studying under David and seeing like, oh, that's how you get that guitar tone, or that's how you make the acoustic guitars or the keyboard sound great. They had this sense that like, okay, we'll take from that experience the thing that we really like, the elements that we really liked from their production style, and we'll do it ourselves. And because we're doing it, it'll be easier. It'll be a smoother process. No. It didn't quite go that way. Maybe if we were doing like a very straightforward rock or metal album, but for, you know, having different ensembles, orchestra, or unusual instruments and all these different project components, we really needed a serious team. So we had to kind of, we did ultimately put together the dream team roles. Like we had David doing leads and guitars and keyboards again, and we had Forrester in Australia giving us a sick bass tone. And we sort of bugged him until he told us sort of some details on how he made the drums on Sound Awake by Carnival sound freaking unbelievable. I think he was a little bit annoyed by our pestering there. But yeah, we got the people into the right roles that I think we ultimately got a really cool and desired result from, that was much more what we were going for with the first record. But it was an absolutely crazy and inefficient and stressful path to get there.
Awesome. And talking about the album, does it have a concrete concept behind it, or is it just different ideas that went behind this album?
So you're asking if it's a concept album?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so I would say both A Dream in Static and this record, I don't really think we write concept albums as much as they're like theme albums. Like there's not really a literal story of like, all right, here's the protagonist in the first song and he's talking to this person and then he's going to go on this adventure, and then the next song he gets in a fight. And we don't do stuff like that, but we'll tend to go into the album being at a certain place in our lives, or having certain themes or ideas very much in mind, and those will kind of show themselves in a different way, a little bit of a different way in each song. On A Dream in Static, that was kind of the idea of self-actualization, of, and the kind of concern like, am I actually going to get to the point that I feel like I need to get to, or am I going to be just kind of stalled out here and I'm not going to have the opportunity to do what I feel I really need to be, you know, doing for the little bit of time I'm alive. So that was kind of the theme, I would say, with The Dream in Static, and there's a lot more, but I'm giving the cliff notes. And with this album, one thing that has come up, I think, in a lot of our press stuff and interviews that we've done is, and I'll credit Jamie, who you were supposed to be interviewing with this, that this is much more of a we album as opposed to an I album. That A Dream in Static was more like my worldview, not mine, but ours. And very not selfish, but like you're very introspective, and the the themes are kind of you focused and your relationships around you immediately. In this album, there's just so much that's happened in the world and so much that is radically different from the time in which we wrote A Dream in Static. And uh, just, yeah, it's a completely, it's hard not to see the world in a completely different way and to look at people in a completely different way. And for us, I think it felt like there's much bigger stuff going on than us individually. We're not the center of attention, and we kind of, it almost feels like we have to kind of step back and think bigger and think about how how humanity is connecting and relating to each other, and where things are going very badly, and if there's anything that can even be done about it. So it's certainly a wider view album. I think it's not a political album really, but it is like a sort of a philosophical album, or like a social like a what's the word, kind of like an exploration of relationships and society dynamics, and how that plays out over a number of themes in under the main theme. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. And when talking about the album, there are 10 mind-blowing songs, like great songs,
Thank
with
you, man.
beautifully written songs with
Appreciate it.
amazing progression. Each song drives us into a different environment, like it brings into
Yep.
ambience and great progression, and the musicianship is totally mind-blowing with you
Oh,
bring
thank you,
a lot of great vocalists, and everything
man.
was perfectly done. The album was perfect. I would like to call it as a masterpiece of an album. So thank you so much for
Well,
bringing up this
appreciate the kind words.
album this year. As a band, as a creator, how do you guys feel about the outcome of this album?
So yeah, kind of coming back to what we were talking about in the first question, I think we felt kind of up to this point, like we almost did the thing, but we didn't quite do it. And I think we feel like we did the thing. That's a really, really eloquent way to say that right now. I think we kind of feel like after making a number of albums that, or EPs or releases that were somewhere between like kind of in the ballpark of what we're going for and like not at all, like throw it away. We feel like we got it this time. And that's not to say, all right, we have the template now. We're gonna this is what we're doing, and we're gonna remake this album, 5 times over. I don't think we could remake it one more time over. I think this was such an insane thing. But yeah, I think we felt like this was kind of a do or die record for us, and there were times where it was almost die. I think there were many places that this record, many points in time where this record almost just, we pulled the plug and said, this is too much. We can't, it's like almost trying to make a movie score and you're 4 people or 4 to 6 people, and way more than we could chew. But through some forces or encouragement, or just kind of not being able to let go, because we really love these songs and we really love the material. And I'll speak for myself and say I felt like we had things to say on this record that were kind of, it's like if we're going to say them, we have to say them now. This is true to the time we're in. We can't release this 20 years from now and be like, Earthside has these great insights on 2020 America and 2040 or something, or the world. But yeah, we're really happy with how this came together. It was madness and a lot of existential dread, and kind of heartbreak and joy and everything in between getting to the point of being able to release it. But I'm really so happy that we got here and grateful that the stars aligned and we were able to work with the great people that we were able to work with and make it happen.
Fantastic, fantastic. And a few weeks back, you put up the video for Pattern of Rebirth.
Yep.
Great song, amazing
Thank
video.
you, man.
And would you like to talk a bit about the song in particular and the making of this video?
Yeah. So that's it's a funny thing, not the song. The song is a very serious song, but the funny thing about the song is so we started recording this record and we tracked drums and everything took so long that the pandemic happened. We had a bunch of singers lined up and one guy fell into terrible depression. Someone had to move and like we it was basically like starting over again. And so we're in lockdown here in the States. You're not supposed to go places. And we basically, the producer over here who lives about 45 minutes away from us, I'm not sure, have you ever heard of the band Misery Signals?
Yes, I do know
Or
them.
End?
Yes.
So he's not currently, he's in End currently, this guy, Greg Thomas, such a good dude, really good producer. He was in Misery Signals for the Absent Light era, and he produced that record, produced and mixed it. He's worked with Shai Hulud, and he was in Shai Hulud as well. I'm the big like melodic hardcore metalcore guy in the band, so obviously Earthside's very different from that, but I love that music. But basically, he ended up being our go-to guy in the area. We just really clicked, and he had a little bit of time that summer. He kind of came in midway through the process of he was one of the big people who helped us just not have this album blow up. Like he helped be the kind of overseer that we were needing, like the person who is making sure that you are keeping on task and getting it done and doing a lot of the hard work around us. He was really the big person that helped us there, and he's become one of our best friends in the area. And he was saying, and I think we were both thinking, like, you know, if we're having to kind of pause certain things right here, it would be cool if we had the opportunity to do a song together with him from start to finish. And so we had written bits of Pattern along with the other songs that on the record. So it was of this batch of songs, but we hadn't finished it because at the time it felt like, you know, we really got to stop writing. We got to just go record the record. But we hit this weird point and we were like, all right, you know what? Let's finish that song. So we finished it like so much faster than the rest of the album. We started it like 2 years later and it was ready like first or second. So that happened, and it came together very cool. It was something that I tend to be a person who generally likes very long songs, but on an album that is mostly very long songs, and I think it's a welcome little kind of quick burst of energy. And it's not here for like 15 minutes. But within that world, I think it does a good job being like kind of a quick little teaser or taster for what Earthside can do in a very concise package. And AJ did a phenomenal job with the vocals on that. And more than just the fact that he has such a great voice and a charisma about him, he brought, as a collaborator, you kind of can't ask for something better with the person that you're working with than to share something really intimate in their life, to share their own story and lay that down on your song. We didn't ask him to do that. We just said, here's this track. We don't really have a unified vision for it. And he turned it into this really moving and fascinating kind of memento to his father, who was a pretty complicated figure. I think he was both a good father and a person who in the kind of underworld of Jamaica, which is where part of AJ's family is from, had done some not great things, and sort of having to reconcile like this person that means this much to me, who's just passed away. His father had passed away shortly before we worked with him. How you look at that person, how you remember them, and are all the bad things that they did or the questionable things, are they all that person's fault? Is there a degree to which you're born into a certain situation? There are certain economic factors working against you. There's certain environmental things that pull you in a certain direction. What decides how we become the person we become? And it's a little bit different from the other. There's a way in which it's a little more self-contained in terms of the themes we were talking about. It's a little more self-contained than some of the other songs, but on an album which is as concerned with I'm trying to the word again, that is as socially conscious as it is, and is interested in the blurry nature of truth. A person being a morally gray figure like this was a really interesting addition to the record. And as far as the sound of it, it probably has the heaviest guitar tone on the record, which is kind of funny. It's like this, it's the closest thing to a rock radio single, and it fucking slams. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. And also you released two more videos from this album, Let the Truth Take, the title track, and All We Knew and Never Loved. Talking about these videos, the cinematic experience is mind-blowing. It's great.
Oh, thank you, man.
Songs, and I really enjoyed and talking about all these things is really fascinating to me, and especially as a creator, it should be more fascinating to you. So would you like to talk a bit about these two videos in particular?
Sure. So the first one, All We Knew and Ever Loved, being the first thing we released from this record. Basically, that's another thing that was informed by the lockdown. It was a time period in which you really couldn't go shoot a music video. We knew that we wanted to have sort of a surprise kind of statement song coming back. So having a track that is like 5 minutes in and you're not hearing any drums, but then when it hits, it really hits you. And kind of really features the cinematic instrumentation in a way that we had never done before, the pipe organ, the brass. We knew that we wanted that to be the statement coming back, but we weren't really sure how to present it visually. I think we were thinking in the beginning to do like a performance video before we ended up doing the animated video, but that would not have been a very good idea, I don't think. I think it would have been very boring, because there's really powerful stuff that's happening early in the song, but you're not getting to see us doing very powerful stuff. So between that and not being able to go shoot a video, we started looking into possibilities on the animated end. And we had come across a video that Gojira had put out around then called For Another World. And we just reached out to the guys, these two guys in France. And actually, we got steak and fries with them a couple weeks ago when we were in Paris for our press day. We finally got to meet them. Super insanely talented guys who are really, they're able to create a world around a piece of music. And in some ways, they're almost too much like us. They're such intense perfectionists. Yeah, they will take as much time as they possibly can to make it better, and we're like, but we got to put it out now. But they did a fantastic job with it, and made it both kind of a story, like a powerful fitting of visuals with the music, which is one of the main things that we want to go for with our approach to music videos. To have the moments, strike and hit in a way that is very complementary and makes the music more powerful, and vice versa. But we were also able to kind of create a meaningful story in that video that I think was timely, and gave kind of helped give that song more of a reason to come back to it, beyond just the music, but like to kind of immerse yourself in our music in a way that we hadn't really offered before. The other one is a bit more, Let the Truth Speak is a bit more of a traditional performance video. But yeah, it was partially shot in this sick cave in Germany. I think it's called Bauman Cave. And we had Daniel Tompkins, as well as the other singer on the song, Gennady Kachenko Popish, in this badass cave, just doing what they do and looking sick. We found Dan like a really cool looking like Assassin's Creed like hood or something like that. So they were in there, shot we shot that a couple years ago, and then after that, the four of us, went into a New York studio space. We shot our parts, and yeah, there's not as much of like an exciting story to it. It's also not like it's not really like a narrative video. It's more about, like said with the other one, like the powerful pairing of the moments of the song with what you're seeing on screen. And it was challenging to do, because anytime you're doing part of something in one country and part of something in another country very far away, you're going to hit all sorts of problems. Like one videographer shooting in one frame rate, but the other guy didn't. So now it's a mess to put together. But it ultimately turned out to be a really cool video. And we're grateful we were able to put that together and get great kind of visual, powerful performances out of everyone. And the one other one that we released, We Who Lament, which has more of like a visualizer, this guy Rivata in Finland put together. And yeah, it's the same idea. It's not a clear-cut story, but it's sort of visually riding the feeling of the music. And that's really something that we also want our live shows going forward to do to the highest extent possible, to have it feel like you walk in to our set and it's like this engrossing sound and visual experience from beginning to end.
Fantastic. And any plans for a couple of more videos from this album, or is it done?
So because every piece of music on the record is so much its own thing, it's its own different world and its own creative risk, I'll say, it would be really cool if every song could have something that we do that highlights it. We have some ideas. I'm trying to, what can I say? Or what am I allowed to say at this point? I'll say that as much as we possibly can, we want to find a way to feature all of these songs. Whether that is another music video, whether that's like a short artistic film or something, or an interesting kind of live performance with one of the full ensembles in a song and all the guests. I'll say that's all kind of open to, we're open-minded about all that. And I think some of what will inform it, or the priority of what happens is when the album comes out, just kind of see what people are reacting to and what people might want a video or something interesting built around.
Okay. And any big plans on November 17th, on the day of the release?
All sorts of rock star stuff. Get a hotel, champagne, I don't know, go to a casino, probably not. Um, I think actually I know exactly what I'm doing on November 17th. Greg, the producer over here, his band End is playing around us with I think this death metal band that I think is pretty cool called Wake, and Inter Arma, and there's some other like really heavy band. I'm gonna be like the guy in the like least heavy band there. um, but yeah, they're playing around us, so I'll probably be over there. And I think we'll probably just be engaging with people and seeing see what people's reactions to the record are, and we definitely want to be as involved as we possibly can in sharing the music with people, whether it's like if someone's curious about, you know, what I'm doing on drums or how I came up with something, kind of breaking things down for people. And the other guys have some really interesting stuff to say about the process of like how they wrote the songs and how they approach the production. Like you're talking production right now with the least tech savvy person in the band. I understand production quite well. It's more you wouldn't want me per se producing your album. But the other guys have some really cool stuff that they would want to share about the music, and we'll have like drum playthroughs coming up and other sorts of interesting content around the songs. So really just kind of being present, and obviously there's a mystique to saying nothing about like dropping it and then, you know, taking a video where we're off in the corner in the shadows and doing like the Tool sort of or Sleep Token, like who are these guys? They have nothing to, but that's not really who we are. And I think people are curious enough about the kind of music that we're making that yeah, we're happy to kind of share it and be not have it be a complete and total mystery to people. Like if people have questions and are interested, being willing to talk with people and give them the inside scoop on it.
Fantastic, fantastic. And talking about touring, any plans for 2024 or how it's gonna work for you guys?
Yeah, so I things have obviously changed a little bit coming into the point that we were in, like with the European tour that we were going to do with Voyager, and just the awful news with Danny, and also coming off of Jamie having his own diagnosis. And Jamie's doing very well now, and I think there's not much cause for concern there. But you know, we're really hoping that Danny is able to make a full recovery, and you know, maybe some point down the line we do have a rain date tour with Voyager. But yeah, so we ended up just kind of doing the couple festivals a few weeks ago in Europe, and we're gonna probably be back out pretty soon in North America, you know, US, Canada. We do want to get to Mexico at some point, but that's probably not going to happen this time around. So we're going to be doing that in the next couple months. We would like to come back to Europe in the spring, and then kind of just as much touring here, Europe as possible. And I mean, certainly we would like to do more territories. We'd like to eventually go to Australia, India, Japan, stuff like that. I don't know if that'll be this record. That might be ambitious, but yeah, I mean, really, we know that for us, like I said, first and foremost, the composition and the music itself is the most important thing. But we also do really love sharing it in a live environment with people, the energy of it. It's a completely, if you've ever seen a video of Frank like going crazy with the guitar and air drumming all my parts, and there's a real electricity to an Earthside live show that I think a lot of people don't expect there to be, because we don't have a clear-cut front man in the way that people normally think of, but it leaves opportunity for us to go about it in a very different way from what people are expecting and have it be a really cool and unique experience. Um, and what it currently is kind of a multimedia mix of, like, you're seeing the guest collaborators, whether a singer or board on drums, projected on a big screen in the center of the stage. And there's a lot of cool lighting that is interacting with that. And that's kind of been how we've sort of been doing it to this point, and we are consistently trying to improve it and have it be a better and more immersive experience from tour to tour, festival to festival. But we are looking to do as much of that as we possibly can in the next couple of years. And one of for as challenging as it is in the current day and age, touring, and also doing what we're doing, with it being like a very abnormal kind of live show, it really is one of the best ways to get quite literally in front of people and increase the notoriety and exposure of the band. And yeah, that's kind of as many live shows and festivals as we possibly can. Make this a really fine-tuned machine.
Fantastic. And talking about the band, back in 2015, you came up with Dream and Static, and now after 8 years, you have Let the Truth Speak. So how has this journey of Earthside been for you guys so far?
It's been a long one. So is the question like what got us from A Dream and Static to here, or like how do we feel about where we are in
Yes.
our career with Earthside
Yeah.
at the current point in time? So yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's been challenging is in the current era that we live in, there's this it's almost like an extension of productivity culture in the US. And I think they probably have this in many other countries, but this just kind of like, how productive are you? How much did you put out? How many records have you released? How many units have you sold? And for certain projects like ours, being probably on the extreme end, we know that we need to be much more efficient and put out records at a much more consistent and quicker pace than we did going into this record. But it's not we're not a 2 years, every 2 years an album band. There is time that is needed to kind of, think out the songs, fine tune them, have ideas that we feel inspired to work on, and we're not just churning it out in a soulless fashion. But in a place in culture and media consumption where it's just kind of like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And you're just kind of supposed to churn. I think we're probably quite a bit behind where we would have probably hoped that we would have been at the current point in time, because our model is really not well suited to that. And some of that's on us a little bit, and some of that is some negative ways in which I think people's attention spans and the sort of funnel of content, the way that has kind of developed in the current year we're in. So I think we put everything we possibly could into this record. It took way too long, and we felt like we had something to really prove with this album. We felt that way on the first album too, and we sort of proved it, but we didn't maybe fully prove it. And I think musically we proved it, and I think in terms of where it goes from here, the no you know the recognition it gets, or the opportunities that come from it. I think we have a lot to prove there as well, and we're we're really hoping that we can make this record a very big record for us, and something that really takes what we're doing to an exponentially higher level. There's only so much you can maybe leap from album to album, but we we want it to be a big one, and we're gonna show up and do what we have to do to make that happen.
Fantastic, fantastic. And any highlight moments that you want to share with me about the band?
About the band, in general, highlight moment. I mean, I think there are a lot of little ones where, um, doing a project like this that is as collaborative as it is, you send the email or the message to the person that you're like, oh, there's no way this person is gonna be down to work with us, or want to learn like 11 minutes worth of vocals or something like that. And yeah, I mean, I think with any time that we've gotten one of these collaborators lined up, whether on the first record or on this album, which was so much more and so much more daunting, it's been a huge victory. Um, for me personally, I would say, so for the Let the Truth Speak, the song that I wrote outside of practice is The Lesser Evil, which is it features members of Tower of Power and Sam Gendel, who often performs with Knower and Lewis Cole. And basically, for what my musical background is, funk music and soul music is something that is was like my earliest exposure to music, and it was a bonding experience with my father and with my parents to be hearing this kind of really funky, brass heavy music in the car all the time, and to go to concerts for that style of music. So I had always had it in mind that if there was a way that I could somehow think to combine what Earthside does, which is very different, with that kind of world of music, that it would be really cool to try to do that, and try to do that with these guys who have a really great sensibility to for taking like the basics of an idea and then making it so much more and so much more detailed and powerful, and kind of just being willing to take a risk on your drummer writing a really long ass funk song on an album for a band that is nothing like a funk band. But getting to work with Larry Braggs, who is like my favorite funk soul singer ever, and my parents as well, was just super cool. Yeah, I didn't do like a thesis or anything in university, so this kind of feels musically like this is my final project at 34 years. Yeah, so that would be mine. I think it would be a different one for all of us. Yeah, I mean, I know Jamie working with Lejean on Mob Mentality was one of the biggest things. I think probably for Frank, the mix of working with Board on All We Knew and Ever Loved, and being able to record the pipe organ for that song was something very special. Yeah, I think those are probably some of them.
Fantastic, fantastic. And well, finally, any message that you have for the fans around the world?
We're coming for you. um, I guess that's a short one of them, but that I would say this is a record that we've put like every degree of our hearts and souls into, or whatever, whatever it is that's not a soul, that's like cosmic. um and we're thrilled to finally be at a point where we're able to share it with everyone. And yeah, and I think more than ever, I feel like music is communication in a way that so many other forms of communication cannot come close to, whether that is social media or arguing with someone about something you disagree with, that there's a way in which music kind of cuts right through that. And I think the world needs more of that. Not per se just music in general, but more uh, um, more earnest art that we're sharing with each other, an expression in a productive way. And we're excited to have that conversation with people and see how it resonates with everyone.
Yeah. And Ben, I want to thank you so much for giving me today this wonderful
Absolutely.
opportunity to have you on this interview. And I want to thank you and the entire band for putting up an amazing album on November 17, Let the Truth Speak. As I said earlier, phenomenal album, totally
Thank you.
enjoyable music and fantastic work again. And I'm really hoping to see you guys on the road, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Where are you currently based?
I'm from India.
Okay, cool. What part of India?
I'm from the deep south, down near closer to the Indian Ocean. Yeah.
Deep South.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what part of India we would, if we had like a festival or something, but
Mostly Bangalore.
you're aware of the song with the singer from Arlan. He is in Siliguri. I'm
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
saying it terribly.
That's
It's a
the
little bit
northeastern
outside of
part.
Kolkata.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to do something to feature that song and to kind of highlight the cultural collaboration there. Like, it has him singing in his native Bengali on it, and I think we actually wanted to have that maybe as a single before we dropped the record, and it didn't. There was just so much going on that we couldn't put together like a proper music video for it. But it would be really cool to be able to highlight that collaboration and maybe even do it in a way in which we're coming over to India. Obviously, India is a freaking huge country. So I don't know if how close we'd be to you, but we are hoping that through some kind of arrangement, we're able to go out there and bring the show there and maybe perform with him. So we'll see. Yeah.
Fantastic. And thanks again. And take care of yourself and have a great evening.
Thank you. You too. All
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.